This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Breaking news, a frantic radio call from actor Harrison Ford just moments before he crashed his World War II-era plane onto a Venice golf course. Tonight, he's recovering in the hospital. Good evening. I'm Rudy Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
I'm David Ono. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. This video shows that plane in the air moments before the crash. Eyewitnesses noticed something unusual and began recording. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter is live at the crash site in Venice with the latest developments as investigators now try to piece together what went wrong. Leanne.
David, that unusual problem appears to be engine trouble. The NTSB says Harrison Ford was trying to return back to Santa Monica Airport after reporting air trouble with the vintage aircraft he was flying. But you can see live behind me here, he never made it. That plane ended up crashed here on the golf course. The NTSB and FAA both now investigating this accident. Now, this was the scene. Take a look. Shortly after the crash, as paramedics rushed to treat Ford, the 72-year-old suffered fair to moderate injuries, including a pretty severe cut to his head. Now, they say that he was alert and conscious and was talking. Witnesses who rushed to help him here on the golf course said that he was complaining of pain, understandably, given that very hard crash landing here. That crash happened just before 2:30 this afternoon, shortly after Ford had taken off from Santa Monica Airport in that vintage plane. It's a 1942 Ryan ST-3KR. Now, he crashed here on Penmar Golf Course, just narrowly missing players on the course. Several witnesses say they did not hear the engine before the crash. That now is all part of the investigation, and officials say it is a key part of the investigation.
The pilot reported a loss of engine power and was attempting to return to the runway. It appears that he clipped the top of a tree and came to rest on the golf course.
He was able to speak. He expressed that he was in pain, which was no surprise. He had a significant head wound. He asked somebody to hold his legs up, and people were just saying, "You're okay, the fire department's on its way."
I just saw the guy inside the plane. So when I saw people, you know, trying to pull that guy out of the plane.
So we came out of our house after we heard the noise. We saw the airplane. We saw some golfers surrounding the airplane carrying somebody out.
Now, this isn't the first crash Ford has survived. In 1999, he escaped uninjured after the helicopter he was flying made a hard landing in Santa Clarita and flipped over. Now, the famous action star, best known as Indiana Jones, has been flying since the 60s. He's well known at the Santa Monica Airport. Again, authorities now investigating what caused this crash. And now Ford's son, Ben, who was with him at the hospital, tweeted out that he was with his dad and that he is battered but okay. Ford's publicist also sending out a note saying that the actor had to make an emergency landing in his vintage plane here and that he is going to be okay. Back live now here at the scene. This scene here at the golf course is going to remain active until tomorrow. That's when federal officials say they've removed the plane. In the meantime, Ford remains hospitalized, we are told, with fair to moderate injuries, but again, lucky to be alive. In Venice, Leanne Suter, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, a comprehensive report, Leanne. Thank you for that. And stay with Eyewitness News for the latest developments following Harrison Ford's plane crash. You can also get updates on ABC7.com by following ABC7 on Facebook and Twitter and with the free ABC7 app.
A second person who allegedly helped organize an illegal street race that killed 2 spectators in Chatsworth has been charged with 2 counts of murder. 38-year-old Ariel Valenzuela was charged today. A second accused promoter of the race, 21-year-old Henry Gavorkian, was charged earlier this week. 2 men were killed and a third seriously injured during the February 26th race when a souped-up Mustang went out of control and slammed into a crowd on the sidewalk. A car theft suspect is dead following a short chase through North Hollywood and Burbank early this morning. An officer opened fire after the stolen car and a patrol car collided in a cul-de-sac near National and North Pass Avenues. Police say the suspect managed to run off but later collapsed. All of this unfolded at around 1:45 in the morning, waking up neighbors.
I didn't see anything. I saw flashing lights. I knew they had stopped. And then I heard pop, 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 pop. And I just, oh, wow.
The man was declared dead at the scene. Police say it doesn't appear that he was armed. At first, they reported the suspect had rammed the police car, but later said the officer-involved shooting occurred after the two cars collided.
New developments in connection with a deadly gang shooting in San Bernardino yesterday. Police say they have made an arrest but are not releasing any details on the suspect. Meantime, a third person has died from the shooting. 4 others were injured, including one person who remains in critical condition. Investigators say the gunfire erupted outside a nightclub and then nearby gas station during a clash between two rival gangs. State Senate committees are holding a public safety hearing this evening in Torrance to discuss last month's explosion at the ExxonMobil refinery. First responders and environmental regulators will testify about safety issues as well as air quality and the impact the explosion has had on the community. 4 people were injured in the February 18th explosion. The blast shut down production at the refinery, driving the price of gasoline up.
Another day of an emotional and graphic testimony from the survivors of the Boston bombing. On the second day of trial, suspect Johar Tsarnaev sat quietly with his head down as victims and witnesses described the horrific day. The father of an 8-year-old boy killed described the moment when he knew his son wasn't going to make it. A first responder recounted the smoke coming out of a victim's mouth during CPR, and a woman described the moment she realized her leg had been blown off. Tsarnaev is accused of killing 3 people and injuring more than 260 others. He faces the death penalty. One of 2 runways at New York's LaGuardia Airport is still closed tonight after a plane skidded off the runway and came dangerously close to crashing into the bay. Delta Flight 1086 coming in from Atlanta was about 4,500 feet down the 7,000-foot runway at around 11 this morning when it suddenly skidded to the left, breaking through a fence and getting frighteningly close to the water. The 127 passengers and 5 crew members on board were taken safely off the plane. 28 people suffered minor injuries and 5 were taken to the hospital.
We looked out the window and we could see the wing was hitting a fence somewhere. And then it just was tumbling and the plane came to a stop.
What was going through your mind this whole time?
Nothing. We figured they had it under control.
Officials say the runway in question had been plowed just minutes before the Delta landing. The incident forced LaGuardia to stop all incoming and outgoing flights for hours, resulting in flight cancellations and major delays.
This is an incredible story. In Kentucky, the governor has declared a state of emergency because of the winter storm. Hundreds of drivers were stranded along Interstate 65. Some travelers tweeted that they had been stuck in their cars for more than 20 hours. The National Guard had to be called out to help with relief efforts after 24 inches of snow fell on some parts of the state. And that winter storm is also causing dangerous driving conditions for people in Tennessee. They had to deal with icy, slick roads after the cold front brought in freezing rain mixed in with snow. And Tennessee has seen 8 to 14 inches of sleet and snow. And a long-anticipated El Nino is finally here, but will it have an impact on California's drought? Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda talks to a local scientist about the weather effects we are likely to see.
El Nino brings thoughts of strong thunderstorms and plenty of rain, but experts say this year, don't count on it.
This is no El Nino. This is somewhere between El Wimpo and El No-Show. This is definitely a minor signal in the Pacific.
NOAA data shows above-average temperatures on the surface water of the Pacific Ocean along the equator. That qualifies as an El Nino, and it usually brings more Pacific hurricanes and rain to the west. It also brings fewer hurricanes to the Atlantic. But scientists say this is a weak and late version of El Nino, so don't expect it to have a big effect on our weather.
January was disappointing. February was disappointing. And so far in March, there's nothing on the horizon. And by that time, for all practical purposes, the rainy season is kaput.
Last year, some experts were hoping that El Nino would help the southwestern droughts. But officials say so far, the snowpack in Northern California looks weak. And despite rains over the last few weeks, our water situation is still dire.
The snowpack is less than 20%. All right. So we're on our knees with this drought. Very soon, as we get into the spring and the summer, we're definitely going to be talking about rationing water.
Even though it's a weak El Nino, there is some good news. Scientists say there's about a 50 to 60% chance that it will last through summer, and that could mean more showers. Along the LA River, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, and speaking of that weather, let's check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Novak. And Jonathan, sunny today.
Yeah,
warm,
I wish I had better news and had some rain in the forecast, because looking at the latest readings actually out there in the Pacific, at the equatorial waters, yeah, there's a little bit of warming out there, but not a real strong presence of that above average sea surface temperatures. So in the meantime, we're talking about this ridge of high pressure that is just stagnant over western portions of the United States. And that means that so far this year, we've only had just over half of the normal where we would normally be for this time of the year for the rainfall amounts. And for the yearly average, 16 inches, we're at 7.4, and we're not looking to add to that anytime soon, unfortunately. We're just looking for very warm weather. Today, the high was 80 in Santa Ana. It was 79 in Pasadena. Extremely warm, actually 10 to 15 degrees above average. That's the forecast for the high temperatures going into the extended. For tonight, wow, mid-60s. 69 even in Santa Ana, 65 Long Beach, 68 in Ojai. These aren't too far from the afternoon high temperatures we would normally have. So a very warm evening ahead, and I'll tell you how hot it gets in that 7-day forecast. Those temps are going up, guys.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. A surprise announcement from Ringling Brothers and the Barnum and Bailey Circus today. It's taking elephants out of the circus. The elephants have long been the stars of the show, but also the subject of bitter controversy. Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth has details on the decision.
Elephants have been a major part of the show with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus for over 100 years, but it's a show the circus plans to end by 2018. This comes after decades of pressure from animal rights activists claiming the circus abused the animals, a claim Ringling Brothers denies. Kenneth Feld, president of Feld Entertainment, Ringling Brothers' parent company, had this to say about the decision.
And it is bittersweet because the elephants have been on the circus for 145 years. So this is a real shift in what will be, but it's the best thing for our company, for our associates, and for our consumers, and most of all, for the elephants.
No word on how the company will fill the void, but the circus vows the show will go on with other animal acts.
You know, we really just want to get back to what we do best, which is creating live entertainment and creating incredible experiences that families can enjoy together.
People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals issued this statement. If Ringling is really telling the truth about ending this horror, it will be a day to pop the champagne corks and rejoice. The circus plans to retire the elephants to its Animal Conservation Center in Florida. Animal rights activist and former game show host Bob Barker is all for elephants being allowed to roam free.
Anytime I hear the word elephant, sanctuary is the first thing that comes in my mind. That's the only place for them.
Leo Stallworth, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Up next, convicted killer Jodi Arias escapes a death sentence again.
Why jurors deadlocked a second time around while trying to decide her fate.
Plus, the father's rage caught on camera as he destroys an SUV, and we'll show you what had him so angry and why no one stopped him.
And the case of whether Robin Thicke and Pharrell stole the song Blurred Lines is now in the hands of a jury. Convicted murderer Jodi Arias has escaped Arizona's death row again after jurors deadlocked on her punishment. The jury voted 11-1 in favor of the death penalty, forcing the judge to declare a mistrial. Arias killed her boyfriend, Travis Alexander, in 2008. Now the judge will have to sentence her to either life in prison or a life term with the possibility of release after 25 years. Members of the jury spoke off camera about the lone juror who held out against the death penalty.
I feel that the one holdout had her mind made up from the beginning.
In 2013, a jury convicted Arias of first-degree murder but deadlocked on the punishment, prompting the sentencing retrial, which began in October.
Well, this is a really disturbing story, and you have to feel for this guy. The father of a teenage rape victim expresses his rage in full view of news cameras in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was so angry that he bashed in an SUV believed to belong to the man who attacked his 13-year-old daughter. According to police, Dustin Moffat waited until the girl got off the school bus, choked and spit on her, and then forced her to his home where she was raped repeatedly. They say he even posted video of the sexual assault online.
It's disgusting. I'm appalled.
This is Kid Central here. I mean, this is like home base for a lot of the kids in the neighborhood.
The victim lives just down the street from Moffat's home. Investigators say he has had 2 protection from abuse orders filed against him, including one from an ex-girlfriend just 3 weeks ago.
The battle over blurred lines is now in the hands of a jury. Late this afternoon, the panel began discussions and claims Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke copied Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up. Eyewitness News reporter Robert Olguin shows us what the jury is dealing with.
Pharrell Williams exits a federal courthouse and flashes Spock's trademark Live Long and Prosper hand sign. But the pop star did not answer questions about the copyright infringement case that could cost him millions. Williams and his collaborator Robin Thicke are accused of basing their 2013 smash hit Blurred Lines on Marvin Gaye's 1977 hit Got to Give It Up. The federal lawsuit was filed by Gaye's family, and after 7 days of testimony, the case is now in the hands of a jury. During closing arguments today, the attorney for Gaye's family told jurors that Williams and Thicke weren't simply influenced by Gaye's performance. Richard Bush argued that they stole key parts of Gaye's song and that they should be held financially accountable. Bush went on to say, "This is not about era or feeling. This is about a specific song and copying it." The attorney for Thicke and Williams says his clients admit to being influenced by Gaye, but Howard King told jurors that the songs are fundamentally different. King went on to say, "There are no virgin births in music. This case doesn't involve copying, it involves creating in prior styles." The attorney for Marvin Gaye's family argued that $25 million are at stake and that Gaye's family is entitled to at least half of that. The jury will continue to deliberate tomorrow morning at 8:30. Reporting from downtown L.A., Robert Olguin, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, let's switch over to our weather. Jonathan showed us some sobering numbers just a few minutes ago. The level of drought that we're experiencing, even with the rain we've had this year, is pretty disturbing.
So I was just looking at the U.S. Drought Monitor, looking at California, and compared to this time last year, we're all in a drought, just like last year, except the one category that is much worse is the exceptional drought. Almost twice as much of the state now in aerial coverage is in an exceptional drought, which is the worst drought you can have, that level of drought, than last year this time. Okay, so all the other categories, the different levels, pretty much the same percentage-wise, except for that last category, which is about 40% of the state almost is in an exceptional drought. We need rain. You know that, and it's going to, unfortunately, it looks like it's just going to be a dry forecast this go-around, and, you know, head into the summer, the spring and the summer. And we saw the story a little earlier. It could get real serious, but for today, at least, you know, try to see the silver lining as best we can. It was beautiful weather. Laguna Beach, just a nice sunset. And now, look at that, perfectly dissolving to the moon, which is full live Malibu shot right there. The high today in downtown Los Angeles, 77. Normally we're at 70. Wow, it is going to get warm in your forecast. It is not going to feel at all like March. It is 65 right now as we head back to Malibu. 50 in Palmdale, 68 Ojai. Good evening. 69 in Santa Clarita and 70 in Temecula. Good evening to you guys. It is a nice, warm, comfortable one for tonight. This map, I love this map. This is basically showing you this time last night, we are warmer. than this time last night. By about 4 degrees in L.A., 4 in Fullerton, 4 degrees warmer right now than it was this time last night in Santa Ana. We're on a warming trend because yesterday when we looked at this, that was also the case. So each day we're adding about 4 or so degrees to those high temperatures. It is going to get toasty for the weekend. Satellite and radar imagery showing this big arc, this ridge of high pressure just keeping any storms or clouds or rain at bay. This has been the case this year and last year, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for this 7-day forecast. Watch Thursday into Friday, and into Saturday, you'll see that ridge pretty much hangs tight right there over the western portion of the country. No energy moving through. Everything's going to stay away from us in terms of clouds and rain and cooler air. We'll have a little bit of a break in terms of the temperatures by about 3 or 4 degrees, a little bit of a quote-unquote cool down going into Monday, but it's not going to be cool. I mean, we're going to be still above average. For tomorrow, we're at 83 in Los Angeles, 85 in Encino, lower 80s to mid-80s in the IE, and 77 Dana Point. 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County. Powered up by AccuWeather. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 80 to 84 degrees. Monday, you're at 80, and we're at 80 again on Tuesday. We'll finally cool down a little on next Wednesday and Thursday with a few clouds, but this is a very warm and dry forecast. We had a few storm systems the last couple of weeks, and that was it for a little while, at least. Valley's IE, you've got 85 to 87 next couple of days. A little breezy tomorrow, might cool you off a bit, and then nice and pleasant next week. Temperatures still hanging around those mid-80s. The beach, nice stuff, 78 to 80 for the weekend, and then we'll cool it down a bit for sunny into Monday, and next week you're back into the 60s, which is closer to your average. And then the mountains and the high desert are looking fantastic. Get the mountains, some breezes tomorrow through the passes, and then 60s, back into the 60s on Sunday. How about that? And then the high desert nearing 80 degrees by Sunday and into Monday. More weather coming up in a few minutes. Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. Up next here on ABC7 at 7 on LA56, UC Santa Cruz students shut down campus.
What they were protesting and why the school told them not to show up for classes.
Plus, more on the Venice plane crash that leaves actor Harrison Ford injured. What we're learning tonight, straight ahead.
Oh my God.
UC Santa Cruz is closed today as students take over campus protesting against rising tuition and campus police tactics. This was the scene earlier today as demonstrators blocked several entrances and exits. In response, the university asked students and faculty not to come to classes. Students at the other UC campuses were also protesting today as part of a 4-day campaign against tuition hikes.
An NFL stadium could be coming to a Carson as backers try to fast-track the proposal. Those in favor have filed an initiative with Carson City Council, which would mean it would bypass approval from city residents. That's the same tactic being used in Inglewood, which is hoping to lure the St. Louis Rams as a team. The San Diego Chargers and Oakland Raiders announced last month they would consider Carson as a future home.
All right, that's exciting, getting an NFL team here. We are updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30.
Including an update on Harrison Ford's condition following the actor's small plane crash today on a Venice golf course.
Plus, a local man accused of using social media to lure a kidnapping victim with the phony promise of a job.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top story at 7:30, actor Harrison Ford is recovering in the hospital after crash landing a vintage plane in Venice. I'm Rudabeh Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
I'm David Ono. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. Ford had just taken off from the Santa Monica airport in a World War II-era plane when he reported engine trouble and tried to return. An Eyewitness News viewer captured video of the plane gliding low along the trees. Ford ended up on the Penmar golf course. Golfers then rushed to his aid.
I went over to help them try to get him out. I kind of got hold of his arm. He got caught in the buckle. The guys finally got the buckle undone, and the goal was just to get him out of the plane, away from the plane, in case there was a problem with fire.
Ford's publicist says the actor is banged up, but that his injuries are not life-threatening. Doctors expect him to make a full recovery.
Harrison Ford is a household name for movie lovers around the world, and he has a huge body of work to reflect on. The prolific actor working on several projects currently, while at the same time taking time for his hobby, aviation. He's in the latest Star Wars film, Star Wars The Force Awakens, set to be released later this year, 30 years after the original Star Wars film. And it has been a tough year for Harrison Ford. The actor actually had to take a break during the making of the film last summer when he broke a leg on set. The star also recently signed on to star in the highly anticipated new Blade Runner sequel. Fans have been clamoring for that, the sequel to the cult favorite, for years, and just this week it was announced that the film is in pre-production. And Ford's always been an aviation aficionado. The movie star has often played the role of a pilot in films like Air Force One and 6 Days, 7 Nights. He owns several of his own aircraft and has been piloting for well over a decade or two, actually. And this isn't his first crash. Back in 1999, he was involved in a helicopter crash when he and the instructor who was training him made an emergency landing in a dry riverbed near Santa Clarita, but neither one was hurt despite the helicopter rolling over on its side. He also spoke on video while he was flying about some near misses he had in planes.
I let the nose wheel bounce, and boy, I went porpoising down the runway like nothing I'd ever seen. I got sideways and over the grass before I got power in to go around it. It was ugly, but I don't over-challenge myself. I've had a lot of good people look after me and help keep me safe.
We also know the Indiana Jones star often flies out of Santa Monica Airport, that golf course where the vintage plane he was piloting crashed very nearby. And stay with Eyewitness News for complete coverage of Harrison Ford's plane crash. Again, the latest from the first responders is that Ford is listed in fair to moderate condition. We'll bring you any new details as soon as they come in, and you can also get updates on ABC7.com by following ABC7 on Facebook and Twitter and with the free ABC7 app.
On the news now, a Riverside man is under arrest accused of using social media to lure a kidnapping victim with a promise of a job at Amazon. Investigators say the suspect held a 19-year-old girl against her will. She managed to escape, but there is concern he may have tried to lure other victims. In Lindenbar Bureau Chief Rob McMillan has more on what happened.
This is the man now accused of kidnapping and robbery, 22-year-old Aaron Viteri Vera, a.k.a. Jay or James Delgado.
Obviously, his intentions were not good.
The Sheriff's Department says the suspect met his 19-year-old female victim on the social networking site MeetMe.com. They say the suspect was posing as a job recruiter at Amazon, promising the soon-to-be victim a job there. After several weeks of discussion, they finally decided to meet up in a public place, this Subway restaurant in Chino Hills. But police say when they got there, the suspect changed his mind, saying he wanted to eat at Wendy's instead, and suggested they drive there together.
I think somewhat reluctantly, she did get into his vehicle, and they began to drive.
That's when things got violent. Police say the suspect grabbed the victim's phone, then got on the 71 freeway and picked up speed. They say the suspect grabbed the victim's pants and wouldn't let her out of the car, but police say she was eventually able to open the door and jump out.
It could have been much worse. First of all, if she had fallen out of the car at a high rate of speed, she could have been killed.
A week later, detectives tracked the suspect down in Riverside and arrested him.
People should be aware that even if they are on a site that it has a great reputation, keep in mind that not everyone on there is there for the right reasons.
And detectives with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department says if anyone else out there thinks they've been contacted inappropriately by the suspect, you're asked to call the Chino Hills Sheriff's Station at this phone number, 909-364-2000. In San Bernardino, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, we have breaking news in North Hollywood. We're getting reports that there has been a shooting on Lankershim Boulevard at the Jimmy's Burgers. That's a live picture from Air 7 HD over the scene. From what we understand, a shooting took place there a little while ago. The gunman apparently has taken off. The victim has been transported to the hospital. They say the victim is a male. That's all we know. We don't know the extent of his injuries. And right now, an investigation is underway. We can see police officers not only at Jimmy's Burgers asking questions and looking around, but just to the right of that building, they're examining some further evidence. We're not sure how far out the shooting extended, but again, the gunman appeared to have taken off somewhere into the North Hollywood neighborhood. We're going to stay on top of the situation. We'll continue to bring you more information.
Investigators have identified a suspect in San Gabriel in a murder investigation. He's 31-year-old Johnny Goins, the brother of the woman who was shot and killed. The victim was found shot to death early this morning. Investigators say her 13-year-old son was also hurt, but that his injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. They say this appears to have stemmed from a family dispute. Detectives say they are hunting for the suspect and encouraging him to turn himself in. 3 teenagers charged in the beating death of a USC graduate student appeared in court today for the arraignment. Xingrong Ji, a student from China, was murdered last July. He was walking home to his apartment near campus after a study session. Investigators say the teenagers attacked the 24-year-old with a bat and a wrench and then left him for dead after an attempted robbery. The 3 suspects will be back in court on April 7th. Criminal proceedings have been suspended against the 4th defendant who is awaiting a mental competency hearing.
A man and a woman led sheriff's deputies in a high-speed chase this afternoon. It began in Norwalk and then continued all the way to Azusa. The suspects were in a stolen white sedan, weaving through traffic at about 100 miles an hour. They pulled off the freeway, continued along city streets, and then finally pulled into the parking garage of a Target store on San Gabriel Boulevard. Witnesses pointed out the 2 suspects, and then they were arrested. The parents of Michael Brown are filing a civil suit against Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson and the city of Ferguson. The announcement comes a day after a Justice Department decision not to press federal charges against Wilson for the shooting of the unarmed teen. But while Officer Wilson will not be prosecuted, the Justice Department did conclude that the practices of the Ferguson Police Department and local government are racially biased. The city's mayor says 1 employee has been fired, 2 others placed on leave in connection to the DOJ report.
The LA community of Venice has a large homeless population that keeps growing every year. And for the last year, LA police officers have worked together with a nonprofit group to help the homeless rebuild their lives. Eyewitness News reporter Q McCrae took a ride along today with the Homeless Task Force.
How you doing? Everything okay? Yeah. Anybody want to go to the shelter this afternoon?
What you're watching happens at 6 a.m. sharp, the Homeless Task Force.
Good morning, fellas.
Chaplain Stephen Weller.
Anybody got a home they want to go to? I'm buying bus tickets today.
And the LAPD's Pacific Division wake up and help the homeless in Venice, like Jacqueline Freckman.
Really nice to get into the homeless shelter. I got there about 2.5 weeks ago. I'm due on March 28th.
She was discovered homeless and pregnant. A common story, according to Weller and his wife, Regina. For the last 20 years, it's been their mission to get people off the streets and in housing provided through Foursquare Church, using their own retirement money.
We're unfunded. The church is separate from our chaplain's homeless task force.
It's really a treat when you find a place and they say yes.
They provide resource information, hygiene kits, and kind words of encouragement. The Wellers and the LAPD team up to do this twice a week.
We feel blessed to work with a great team.
It takes some time to establish a relationship with those people, but once we manage to break through the first barrier, we then can start working on bettering their lives.
The homeless man shot and killed by an LAPD officer this week put the focus on how law enforcement deals with the homeless who live with a unique set of circumstances. But as far as Jacqueline's concerned, their work here in Venice is proof the police not only protects the public, they serve the public.
I was homeless for like 12 years, on and off, and when they picked me up during my pregnancy, I thought that was super neat because I didn't think they really gave a crud.
Would you like a ride up to the Rose Clinic?
In Venice, Q McCrae, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Up next, new information about antibiotics in milk.
what you might want to keep in mind as you head to the store.
Plus, can't make it to the doctor? Get a house call with a brand new app, the so-called Uber for doctors, coming up.
Beautiful day today. Temperatures were warmer than yesterday. Tomorrow, they're going to be even warmer. Details coming up in your 7-day forecast.
A new study finds little evidence of antibiotic contamination in the U.S. milk supply. The Food and Drug Administration did testing at nearly 2,000 dairy farms. It found less than 1% of the total samples showed evidence of illegal drug residue. Antibiotics and other drugs can end up in milk when they're used on dairy cows to keep them healthy. The FDA says it'll use the findings to try to reduce drug contamination even more.
Many people can't even remember the days when doctors used to make house calls, but now new technology is blending with old-fashioned medicine to create a service that makes doctor visits convenient. Eyewitness News health specialist Denise Dorr has a closer look.
Strong abs. Teaching Pilates and running her own Pacific Palisades studio keeps Nicole Rocks busy around the clock.
I never have time actually to take care of myself because I'm always taking care of my client.
A few weeks ago, a nagging cold kept getting worse. She didn't want to take time off to see her doctor, so she downloaded a new app called Heal instead. 15 minutes later, Dr. Mesa Alavi arrived.
It reminds me of Uber. When I needed a driver, I hit the button. Now I have a button for a doctor.
We were able to do all of our vital signs, a physical exam, and I sat down with her and went over what I found.
If you're an iPhone user, this is how the Heal app works. You indicate whether you're an adult or a child, and you request a doctor. And just like the Uber app, it knows exactly where you are. $99 is charged directly to your credit card, and within 60 minutes, a doctor shows up at your door.
So the patient feels comfortable, they get the care that they need, the attention that they deserve, and they're not being exposed to other sick people in the typical waiting room.
Heal is one of the new few apps and services responding to growing patient dissatisfaction with access and wait times. Its founder, Dr. Renee Dua, says the idea came about after she waited 8 hours in an ER with her 1-year-old.
I said to my husband, there has to be a better way to do this.
For now, Heal doctors only make house calls on LA's west side, but the company plans to expand.
We can even prescribe medicines. In the future, we'll be able to do things like IV fluids or flu shots or vaccine schedules for children.
Patients have to go to labs for any blood tests or other diagnostic tests like x-rays. The $99 fee covers a doctor's visit only, so filling prescriptions and lab tests are paid out of insurance or out of pocket. For Nicole, the convenience of seeing a doctor when she wanted to was worth it.
Hit a button and have a doctor here within minutes is priceless.
Denise Tador, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Dr. Jewett says they're hoping to add home tests like rapid strep and urinalysis tests within the month. Their doctor's on call from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week for the same $99 fee.
Great idea. Get ready for summer-like weather. Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast up next.
And in sports, National League Cy Young and MVP award winner Clayton Kershaw makes his first start of the spring. Highlights coming up. We have a follow-up to a heartwarming story we first brought you on Eyewitness News yesterday. Eyewitness News viewer Risa Feldman told us about her dog Ike. He suffers from cancer and now has trouble getting around. When she went to Home Depot looking for a cart, 2 workers went the extra mile and built her exactly what she was looking for, and they did it on their own time. Today, Ike's trike was presented to Feldman, and it looks like Ike is right at home, and it looks comfortable in that. Again, we heard about Ike, the dog, from one of our Circle of Eyewitnesses participants, and we love hearing stories like this. And remember, if you know something we should feature here on Eyewitness News, share it online with the hashtag ABC7 Eyewitness and join the Circle.
Oh, that's adorable.
That's great.
Jonathan Novak joins us right now with continuing on with the bad news about how dry it is out there.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those situations. It's you hate to complain about great weather, but the great weather in reality is just more of the type of weather that's gotten us into this drought situation, which is just, unfortunately, a situation that doesn't look like we're going to get out of anytime soon. We are in an exceptional drought across the state for about 40% of the state. And the next 7 days don't look good in terms of rainfall. So let's focus on the positives. It's going to be our temperatures. In the Northeast, they're dealing with another system that went through. There actually is, it looks like in North Carolina tonight, black ice will be forming across the state, and that is extremely dangerous. They got situations where actually their safety is a concern for the East Coast. For us, it's just dry and beautiful and nice and pleasant. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD showing nothing on the scope. Highs today, not record-breaking, but wow, about 10 degrees above average. 80 in Santa Ana, 79 Pasadena. Big Bear even 51. And it's March, the beginning of March. Hey, check it out. We got a full moon tonight to boot, and it is a beautiful evening in Long Beach. Temperatures right now hanging around 65 degrees. Light winds, 10 miles an hour, and across the board, it's pretty much the case. Just a very pleasant one for everybody in Southern California. 69 Santa Clarita. Ojai, 68 up top in Frazier Park, 52. Victorville, 54. Check out Big Bear's at 28 now. You guys are cooling off for tonight, of course. And it's going to be a chilly one tomorrow morning. But tomorrow afternoon for places like Big Bear, everybody really, another day above average. Why? Well, high pressure is our weather maker here. You see these winds around high pressure go like this, clockwise. So as we go through the next few days, that clockwise flow around high pressure is going to give us a little bit of an offshore flow. And that, as you know, is a warming wind, and temperatures are going to be getting up around 80 to 85 degrees. Now, what I want to show you here in the future scan, not much changes over the next few days. It's high pressure in control, that ridge over the western portion of the U.S. right there all the way through Monday. We might get a little bit of a break in terms of the temperatures, a couple of degrees, Sunday and Monday, but not much. It is going to be a warm forecast, your 7-day for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather, 83 tomorrow. In my forecast, warm and sunny and beautiful weather through the weekend. 80 even into next Monday and Tuesday, finally cooling back down closer to average by next Wednesday. But just a very warm forecast for the valleys and IE as well. Mid-80s to upper 80s for the next 2 days. A little breezy at times, otherwise just sunny and fantastic. Next week we're back into the 70s on Wednesday and Thursday. All right, beaches, good stuff for you guys. About 78 to 80, I mean, that's beach weather if you ask me. Into the 70s, lower 70s on Sunday, you'll dip down a little bit. Mountains looking very mild. 61 on Sunday, and Monday is a very mild temp for you guys in the high desert. Getting warm, 77 to 78 by Sunday and Monday. Sunny skies, no rain, guys, not this time around.
Yeah, that's just too bad.
I know.
Jonathan, thank you.
You're welcome.
It is a tight race in the Western Conference. 4 teams are within a game and a half of each other for the 3rd through 6th spots of the Western standings. So the Clippers' loss last night to Portland might have cost the Clippers home court in the first round of the playoffs. Last night at Staples Center, a wild finish to the Blazers-Clippers game. LA blew a 10-point lead with under 3 minutes to play. They had a chance to win it, but Chris Paul misses the shot, and then DeAndre Jordan with a rebound, but mistakes the shot clock buzzer for the game horn and doesn't put up the shot despite Chris Paul's urging. Portland goes on to win it in overtime. The Clippers' next game isn't until Sunday against the Western Conference leading Golden State Warriors.
We made a lot of mistakes down the stretch, you know, that being one of them, obviously. But we gave up a couple of threes, 2 threes that just can never happen.
We deserve to win, so when you feel like you deserve to win, losses like that are extremely frustrating.
And you can watch the Clippers and the Warriors renew their rivalry Sunday afternoon right here on KABC or your Watch ABC app. After the game, Michael Cooper and Lisa Leslie will join Robert Kazaki for the Sports Zone. Suspended NASCAR driver Kurt Busch will not face criminal charges over the alleged assault of a former girlfriend. The Delaware Attorney General's office says their case against Busch isn't strong enough to prosecute. No word yet on whether that will impact Busch's indefinite suspension by NASCAR. Cactus League play, Dodgers, White Sox. Clayton Kershaw looks in mid-season form. The reigning NL MVP and Cy Young Award winner dominated in his 2 perfect innings. The toss, only 20 pitches is what he did, striking out 3 as the Dodgers down Chicago 6-1. Meanwhile, in Tempe, the Angels hosted the Brewers in their first game of spring training. The American League MVP, Mike Trout, went 1 for 2 with a strikeout, but he did have that infield single to bring home a run. The Angels take down the Brew Crew 3-2.
The 2,000-year-old Dead Sea Scrolls have arrived in Los Angeles. The ancient scrolls will go on public exhibit next week at the California Science Center. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand has a preview.
Last week, we got an insider's tour in Israel of the caves of Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and the Jerusalem lab where they're being preserved. But you don't have to go all the way to Israel to see the Dead Sea Scrolls.
This is a big deal.
The scrolls have arrived in Los Angeles.
Oh, it is so exciting. I mean, we've been talking about this and working on this for the last 2.5 years.
Today, the California Science Center unveiled their Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit set to open on Tuesday. The head of the project was like a proud mom.
You know, they're very fragile, and therefore they're taken care of as babies.
Okay, so here it is, direct from Israel. In this case behind me are the real Dead Sea Scrolls, but it wasn't as simple as simply bringing them over and putting them in this case. These cases have been set up for weeks now, and the California Science Center had to maintain specific humidity and temperature levels, then report back to Israel, and only when they were stable, then the scrolls were brought over.
Each case is separately climate controlled, meaning humidity and temperature as in our storeroom, as in our labs.
As in the caves.
And as in the caves.
And while they're here, the Dead Sea Scrolls can only be handled by one person, the conservator of the scrolls.
It is a very great opportunity to bring scrolls to people who never seen them before, and to share our scrolls, our heritage with the other people over the world.
And it's not just 2,000-year-old scrolls. There are also 3,000-year-old artifacts like these clay pieces and this tub. And for something a little more modern, there is also an IMAX film touring ancient Jerusalem. The Dead Sea Scrolls will be on display until early September. Jory Rand, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
More news straight ahead here at 7:30, and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. We will have an update on Harrison Ford's condition. Plus, we talk to pilots who fly out of Santa Monica with the actor and talk about how he managed to make such a safe landing. And a family gets the scare of a lifetime when a lioness opens a car door. These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law and Order SVU is next here on LA56.
And Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7 and anytime on ABC7.com. Have a good night.
This is ABC7 weather.
Hey folks, Jonathan Novak here. Ridge of high pressure over the western portion